right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October open mic night. This month, we have an EcoCity Farms takeover, and we're really excited to have them speak with us this evening about their beginning farmer training program, their composting initiatives, and their new urban farm incubator. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I will turn the mic over to Margaret, who can go ahead and introduce her staff, and you guys can kick things off. Thank you for being here tonight.
It's really wonderful to be here, and makes me sad that I missed any of the others. But I wanted to introduce Kayla, who is the Deputy Director. She's already introduced herself, and I think we should just move on because she has a presentation that's worth seeing. Kayla?
Great, thank you. Yes, I'm Kayla Agnoy, Deputy Director of EcoCity Farms. I'm going to start to share my screen. We prepared a little presentation to guide the conversation this evening. And of course, feel free to interject with questions. And if Kim, if you can let me know if people have anything in the chat. This can be very much so conversational. So please feel free to ask along the way. I'm going to get started with introducing our staff and talking a little bit about ECO and what we do. Then I'll turn it over to our other staff members to talk about the beginning farmer training program, incubator farm, and the compost outpost that we have at the Bladensburg farm. So just to start off, you've met some of us already. Those on the top row, as well as Michelle is on the line. Those of our staff who are not here this evening, Michael Edmondson, he is the urban farmer at Bladensburg. Angel Ramirez, urban farmer at Edmondson, and Sally Watanabe. She is our CCC core member for this year. Let's get a little glimpse of our small but mighty staff at ECO. So getting into ECO, so we started in 2010 in Prince George's County. So we are in Edmondson and Bladensburg, Maryland. As most of you know, the food system unequally distributes its nutrition and its resources. And it's not uncommon to see that in communities of color that are underserved, there is very limited to no access to fresh, healthy, sustainably grown food. Also kind of known as a food swamp. Readily available are fast foods, convenient foods, and corner store and liquor store options. So not very healthy foods. And then in turn, our community health as a whole suffers. We in Prince George's County have very high rates of diabetes, heart-related diseases, and other kind of diet-related ailments. And so ECO is here to be a place to provide fresh food for our community. So getting more fresh food onto the plates of our neighbors, as well as that educational mission of teaching youth about where their food comes from and teaching others how to start their own farms or gardens and empowering people to grow their own food. I'll get more into our programs along the way. That's kind of like the intro to ECO. So this is a glimpse of the Edmondson farm. This is the first farm that started in 2010. This is about 1.5 acres. And I wanted to show you guys that we are around houses. So we are very much in a residential area. And then behind us here is a kind of industrial park with auto body mechanic type shops. We're right along the northeast branch of the Anacostia River, so very much connected to our waterways and in turn the Chesapeake Bay. We have on this site a multi-purpose classroom space, extended cold storage, and a processing kitchen where we wash and package everything for CSA. On this site, we have 3 hoop houses as well as a nursery where we start all of our seedlings. Here's a little glimpse of the hoop houses, panoramic kind of the farm here. We did used to have 4 hoop houses, but there was a very heavy snowfall one year and actually crushed the side of one of our hoop houses. I think it was like Snowmageddon or Snowzilla, one of those crazy names. And so that was a lesson learned that our hoop houses are built too close together. And so when we do have instances of heavy snowfall, that's something that we have to be mindful of how much the snow builds up in between the hoop houses. And so we did experience some damage there, but the silver lining was that then this plot of land here had access to fresh water for it to from the rain to really flush out the soils, because in our hoop houses we do experience some salt buildup because of the covered environment. So this is a glimpse of inside the hoop houses, of inside our nursery. And we do have heated tables in our nursery, so then we're able to start our seedlings early, as well as grow microgreens and salad mixes on these tables. Moving on to the Bladensburg farm. So this is very close to Bladensburg High School, Port Townsend Rogers Heights Elementary, Elizabeth Seton High School, if you know where those are. We are right next to, or actually on the land of the Autumn Woods apartment building. So we're very much close to a large population of people. We are across the street from Parkview condos, and then not pictured in the map on the corner of this street here is Emerson Senior House apartments. And I'll mention them again a little bit later on in this presentation. But the Bladensburg farm is about 3.5 acres, so it's quite large for a urban farm. But what you can't really tell from here is that we're pretty much on top of the hill. So not all of the land lends itself well to, you know, carving beds into it. We would have to do a lot of work to work with the sloping of the land. But here is where we have our composting operation and do some permaculture growing as well. So here's a glimpse of our fields. We do have a hoop house and a smaller hoop house on the Bladensburg farm, but most of it is outdoor. And this white building here looks like an airplane hangar, but it's called our wormhouse, and that's where we do our vermicomposting operation. We do vermicompost as well as hot composting. Then to kind of break it down into the organization and what we do, we can look at it in 5 different components. So first is advocacy. So ECO helped to form the Food Equity Council, which is the Prince George's Food Policy Council. So we were instrumental in getting that started, as well as along with the Food Equity Council and other major partners, we worked and advocated for rezoning amendment to allow more flexible use or land use for urban farming. So allowing more places, despite what they were zoned for being able to be used for urban farming purposes. So that was very instrumental in getting urban farming established in Prince George's County. Sustainability, so I mentioned compost. So this is a little glimpse inside of the wormhouse. We do have hot composting bins as well as vermicomposting bins. You can see Benny here with his handful of worms. It sounds like a lot of you are interested in composting, so maybe if we have some time, you can do a little Q&A with Benny about your composting troubles. But we are certified naturally grown, so it's a small grassroots alternative to the National Organic Program, but still do the similar practices. So no chemical fertilizers or no synthetic chemicals, all natural methods. So we do make and use our own compost. We support pollinator habitats as well as keeping bees and supporting that population. So very much a holistic and sustainable way in terms of how we're growing at ECO. So ECO is a frugal nonprofit, and that just leads to innovation and invention. And so on a tight budget, it forces you to be a little more creative. And so we've learned from other urban farms and other fellows from different countries about what they're doing and some cool techniques that we've implemented on the farm. So first here, keyhole garden. So this is actually a permaculture technique that has originated in sub-Saharan Africa. And it's a growing structure where you can compost and grow in the same confined unit. This middle part is a composting basket where you put your food waste. You grow on this outer bed here, and it's called a keyhole because of this indented shape that you can use to access all around the bed. It's pretty accessible for people of all ages and abilities. So it allows for intergenerational growing and learning opportunities and connections. So this is something that we've built at the Bladensburg farm. The Edmondson farm, we have a small biogas digester. So another educational tool showing people how you can use food waste and actually convert it to electricity. So we feed the food waste through the top portion here, and this bag at the bottom acts as a cow stomach. It's inoculated with similar bacteria that break down the food waste, kind of digest it. And like cows, they produce gas. So it's like a big fart bag, and we can collect that gas, and we've used it for fueling cooking elements for our summer youth program. But then on a bigger scale, you can convert that gas into electrical energy. So that's a way we can turn our waste into energy. And then the last one here is a greens dryer made from a washing machine. And so we just use the spin function to process our microgreens and our salad greens. This really came out of the need that our salad greens are a pretty popular and highly coveted product of ours. And so we had to amp up that production. And the little salad spinner thing that we were using wasn't cutting it anymore. We had to scale up. So this was a cool retrofit that Benny has worked on as well. Of course, education. So we do farm tours for all ages, K through 12, college, and then any kind of adult groups who want to come visit. We do schedule farm tours. In the summer, since 2011, we've hosted a summer youth employment program. So it's been 6 weeks out of the summer. Local teens work with us on the farm every day, cook their own lunches from scratch, and then learn about the interconnections between food, health, and environment by visiting local foodscape places in the county, like local farms and farmers markets and other markets, to really start to get an introduction into the food system and start to get them to become more aware and conscious consumers. The Beginning Farmer Training Program, my colleagues will talk a little bit more about that, but that's a program that started in 2016, I believe, but our first cohort graduated 2017. And we are looking for applicants for our next year's program. But we also accept apprenticeships as well. So that's for people who have the ability to make more of a time commitment on a weekly basis, but just want to get started in seeing what urban agriculture is about. And so the apprenticeship is usually a jumping off point for people to start to get into their own farming journey. So apprenticeships are like for those who want to help out on the farm, but also get a really intense introduction into the ins and outs of urban farming. And then lastly, community well-being. We had to pivot kind of how we distributed produce during the pandemic. And so we have not returned to farmers market, but instead that produce was diverted into donations. So we've been donating to local municipal food drives, as well as the Emerson Senior apartment buildings that I mentioned. So that's right on the corner where the Bladensburg farm is. So we've been donating our produce there. We still have been continuing our CSA. We're about halfway through our fall CSA. That's a popular offering as well. We've done a soft launch back into volunteer days. I've been doing them every other week this fall, but we do plan to go back into our weekly Saturday morning volunteer days in the spring. And community events, as you can imagine, have kind of been on a hiatus, but we are hosting a open house this Saturday in relation to a food day bingo challenge. So it's a good segue here. So to celebrate Food Day, which is actually on October 24th, we have set out this Food Day bingo challenge to get folks to be a little more curious about their food and where it comes from and how you interact with food and your relationship with food. So there's categories about food justice, sustainable agriculture, healthy eating, and mindful eating. So it's a set of little challenges to get you more engaged in your food and farming in the local area. Mentioned earlier before we got started, we did get a visit from the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, last week. He had come to visit the area and specifically ECO for National Farmers Day. And so he came there to listen about some of our needs and concerns and the direction that urban farming can go to and the benefit that urban farming can have. So he was there to see what we have going on, learn from us, and make some great connections. Okay, so that's the end of my portion. Does anybody have any questions or comments for us so far before we get into the more specific topics?
If you guys want to drop your questions in the chat box, or you're welcome to use the raise hand feature and Kayla can call on you.
Kayla, I have a question. This is
Jamila,
Amy.
yes, please.
How was the dryer retrofit? That's interesting. I like that concept. Very innovative.
Yes, so maybe Benny would be able to offer a little more insight on it since he definitely was hands-on with this project. But you basically run the washer without any water. So it's a spin cycle, but somehow with no water. So Benny, do you mind giving us a little insight on this innovation?
I certainly don't mind. One of the biggest problem with a washer is that it's got that center column in the middle of it. And obviously you can't put anything in except for laundry, which is a problem. So the first thing that you need to do is take out that middle column. Once you have that middle column out and the rest is intact, you could insert a basket that has holes all around it, like a, you know, the solid dryer that you have in your house,
Or colander.
and all the water will run through, and you put it in the spin, and when it spins quickly, all the water go to the sides and to the bottom and dries out the material, and you could take the basket out and use it to I guess to sell the rest, I mean, to go through the process of whatever you're going to do with it. Yeah, but that's in a nutshell what you need to do. The most important is to skip all the cycles and to go directly to the spin cycle. And you're not using any of the other, obviously you don't have any water connected to this thing because you don't really need any water, and have a way for the excess water to go into a drain. So these are the major things that you need to do. Not very difficult. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. It's just an ingenious idea and a good use of time.
The one thing that I have to say is you need to find a washer, a washer that you can actually take out the center column. Not all washers are the right type. And I think what we did in ours is we banged it out because there was no other way to take it
Probably.
out. Yeah, and we cut it out. That's how we got it out.
Look, thank you, Benny. It looks like we have a question from Jamila, and then we have a few in the chat box. Jamila, do you want to go ahead and go first?
Sure, Kim. So I've been told by some farmers that it's unrealistic for a farm to produce all the compost that they will need. From your experience, are you able to produce all of your own compost, or do sometimes throughout the year you find yourself needing to supplement?
Obviously, that's a good, first of all, that's a very good question. Depends to what scale you are building your system. So up till now, we were probably not being able to do everything ourselves. But here is a new scale of composting that most likely we'll be able to make our own, and I can actually talk a little bit about this. There were some times that we were almost able to do everything by hand, ourselves, but it takes a lot of labor, and we had lots of volunteers doing it, and it was very, very difficult. So for a couple of years, we moved only to the high end of composting, which is the vermicompost, and we utilized some other people's regular compost, hot compost from various places, but we added the vermicompost to the mix, which was probably increasing the production to the degree that we wanted. But lately, this is our new improved composting site. It's right next to the wormhouse, as you could see, and we will have a area where we're going to do the mixing, which is right there. There'll be a floor made of concrete, and right next to it, there's an area where we will have leaves and wood chips. We will get food waste from a stream of food waste that comes out of Compost Crew, which is a commercial operation that will bring it to our site. And then we will mix it with the wood chips and the leaves on the mixing pad right there, and install it into these, these are specially made shipping containers. Actually, we retrofit those shipping containers. Each bay or each shipping container has two piles in it, right there. And every week we will put one pile in one of those bays. And the way it works is the floor is perforated. There are holes in the floor, and behind we inserted pipes. And too bad I have a picture of it, but I couldn't find it. I was looking for it. But the pipes are all through the bottom. There are about 4 pipes to each bay. And we will use solar energy to activate a blower. Most likely it will be like every 2 hours for about 15 minutes. We'll blow air, and the pile will be aerated. As you know, one of the ingredients that is needed in making compost is air. Otherwise, you're going to have a CO2 buildup, and you're going to kill all the bacteria. We are looking at aerobic conditions inside the pile when we make our compost. So the blowers will have a timer, and every 2 hours it will blow for about 15 minutes and push all the CO2 out and have a lot of air, a lot of oxygen in the pile. And every week we will take out one pile out and set it aside, and that will be room for another new pile coming in. So the cycle will start, basically will be for about 4 weeks, but that's not the end of compost. It's going to have to be sitting somewhere. And now we're talking about bringing in a container to continue the process, a roll-off container that will have a pipe also sitting in the middle of it. And every time that the roll-off is full, we could either take it into our system, or if it's too much for eco, they can actually come back with a roll-off truck and take it away. So that's kind of a nutshell what we're going to do. And you're back to your question, you're probably right that it's, unless you have a mechanical way of doing it, when I'm showing you right here, there is a bobcat that will serve this operation. Hopefully, we do have one bobcat in the system, but it belongs to compost crew. We'll use that if we don't have any other opportunity. But we were told by Vilsack that maybe they will be able to donate from somewhere a bobcat for eco. So that's really great news, and one benefit of having him come to see us. I think I kind of covered everything about this new system, but if you're looking for places to get compost, there are a couple of places that up till now we were supplementing our needs, but we were always being able to make some portion of our compost. And actually, I would say that our compost is probably better when we make it ourselves. So this will be certainly a terrific way of being self-sufficient in this new system. Is that answering your question?
Yes, it really did. Thank you so much.
As far as recipes and how to make compost, I know people are interested in that. Maybe this is not the exact time to do this. Maybe we could set up some other time where we can talk about more in detail, because the subject of composting could take as much as 2-3 hours to discuss, not to make. Yeah. So if I'm willing to do it one day, but maybe if you have any more questions, I can answer. But let's let the question flow.
We'd love to have you back, Benny, on another open mic, so for extended one.
Okay.
Before they go into the beginning farmer training program, are there any additional questions about compost? And while folks are thinking about that, I know Jennifer, well, Stephanie had a question about land that Margaret will address a little bit later. And Jennifer, had a question for you guys about food donations, and if you'd be willing and interested in conducting a food day bingo game at their senior facility. That might be something you guys can talk offline about, but maybe you guys can exchange, contact information in the chat box.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, I'll put my personal email in the chat. Can you guys see when I'm in can you see this? I guess not. Okay, I'll put mine email in the chat and let's connect. Yeah, we can definitely talk more about that. But in terms of donations, we are at capacity in terms of what we're able to produce and donate, since most of our produce does go to the CSA, and then any remainder is going to the Emerson Senior House. So in terms of food donations, we're at capacity, but in terms of engagement, we can definitely explore some options and possibilities.
Why don't you switch to yourself, Kayla?
Switch to myself. No, I gotta
there you
do,
are. Good.
gotta do the next one.
Yeah, okay.
You can go to Kwesi.
Okay, Kwesi, you're up if you want to, if you're gonna do a just a brief overview of the program. Kind of what do people do?
Yeah, I'm
What's the
trying to,
experience?
my old self is trying to figure out the computer.
Take your
All right,
time.
so
There you are.
the Beginning Farmers Training Program is a 10-month long program. We do the first 3 months in the classroom with the Prince George's County Community College. After that, that will be from January to March. We will continue on at the farm where Benny, myself, and other staff will help trainees, learn from composting to, amending your soil. And in fact, we do have a training field where people are allocated, or a team of beginning farmers will be given a piece of land to really plant things. This year, we had a tea garden, we had a state fair, pumpkin growing, and Mexican corn growing, and all that in between. We learn a lot, from mushrooms to bees to composting to, you name it. Sometimes we will even go to other farms to see what farmers do and how farm actually look like, more than urban farms look like nowadays. And so it's an interesting program. If you want to know more about it, you can reach out to me or to Kayla, to any of the ECHO staff, and we will tell you more about it. That's in a nutshell what the Beginning Farmers Training Program is about.
If you look at the three photos, the first one is this year's cohort. And
Yes.
then they were working on biochar, I believe this is a biochar maker. The second group was our very first cohort, and they are learning about how to use power tools outdoors, and at the Bladensburg farm. And the third picture is of Christian Melendez, our very first farmer, and he will be teaching the class, the Prince George's Community College class this year.
Just to add to it, if you look at the first picture, actually the first picture is we are actually roasting corn on the biochar maker.
Yes, those were corn that we planted. We tried our hands on a couple of tropical plants up on the hill in Bladensburg farm. The reason being that we have a lot of West Africans living in that community, also Latinos. And so we, ECHO, thought that it would be a good idea to actually grow things that will be used to segue into the community, to reach out to the community. So the corn we're looking at was corn we beginning farmers planted, and we roasted it and had a corn party at the farm. We also, ECHO has been talking a lot lately about how people can actually make living off of farming, urban farming, whether it's a supplemental living or even a full-time urban farming. So we have plans to continue advanced classes in the areas of how to organize your business, how to write your marketing plan and others that will be announced later for people who have gone through the program. So it's an exciting program to consider if you haven't.
I think we have a question from Lyndon. She was wondering if there are opportunities to audit the class if you've been farming or growing for a long period of time.
Yes, we have allowed people to audit, but we will not be able to give you any certificate from the community college or even from ECO if you haven't volunteered with ECO to for us to know that you actually know the things we are talking about. We can, certify that you have done what we have trained you to do.
We are having, if you mean that auditing the classes, we're not doing this virtually, we're doing it in person. So even the classes this year, the challenge will be that we'll have a limited amount of space indoors given all the COVID restrictions. So I'm not sure that this year is going to be a good year to audit the classes. But
okay. So it's virtual, correct? Everything's virtual this year?
No, nothing is virtual this year.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. So that's why there's limited space. When it's virtual, it's easier.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. I see that.
Someone asked about it.
I did put in the application. If anyone who's there wants to apply.
Thanks, Margaret. And I think Linda wanted to know more from Kwesi about the crops that are being grown there, specifically some of the ethnic crops. Did we lose Kwesi?
I think Kwesi, it looked like Kwesi was.
No, there he is.
Is he back?
No.
No, I think that there was a
Connection issues.
he got caught or something. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was kicked out and I logged myself on here. I saw someone ask a question about the ethnic crops that we're growing.
Yes.
He's talking, but you can't hear him.
He's muted.
I see you went on mute just as you started to.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. It shows that the computer is somehow acting up today. I don't know why. All right, so we do have, we basically try to grow ethnic crops that are very popular and common. One of them was garden eggs, which is very popular in West African cuisine. We did something called huckleberries. You eat the leaves. Also very popular in West African cuisine. Nigerians and Cameroonians love it. What else? We did bitter leaf, which is very medicinal and delicious. And so we are also looking to expand that based on the demand in the community.
Also a wide variety of peppers.
Yes, habaneros and among others. Sorry, was there anything else that happened while I was gone for that brief time? Any question that popped up? No? Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
I just want to talk to you a little bit about the incubator farm.
Hey, Margaret, do you mind coming on video and I'll spotlight you?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, sorry. If not, it's okay.
Okay. Yes, I can come back. I'm back. You got me?
We sure do. Thank you.
Yeah, we were talking a lot about, there was a question about how do you find land for farms? And we actually chose Prince George's over, say, DC or other places to run this program. and for our own farm, because we felt that there was the promise of a lot more farmland available in Prince George's, and also that we were excited by and are excited by the mix of people who live in Prince George's County, and that we wanted to have sort of correct many of the sins of the past and make sure that many more people of color learn or relearn about farming and have access to land. But it is not easy to get land anywhere. And we therefore decided that the next step is to try to get land for people and have them at least start their careers in farming. So this long stretch of land is actually 10 acres of land at Watkins Regional Park. These are other pictures of it. It's right across from a large church, and it also right next to an elementary school and right near a community garden that's on the same premises. And this land will be available within the next few months. Right now, the biggest thing is preparing the land so that it's not been farmed for a long time, but preparing it so that it can be farmed, and that it can be productive and that it can be farmed organically. One of the biggest challenges is there's not a water source on this farm. So our partners who are Park and Planning and the Soil Conservation District, which is where Kim works, these they are working to make this more land more hospitable. Kayla didn't mention, but the land that we got in Bladensburg had for many, many years housed 3 apartment buildings and a parking lot, excuse me, and then was dumped, then was used as a dump. So for 24 years, it was not really done, nothing was done with it, and it was full of both landfill and the remnants of these old buildings and the parking lot. And we still encounter those things. Same with the Edmondson farm. There was a house there, and once when we were trying to do work in one of the hoop houses, we ran into the foundation of that house. So there's real challenges in urban farming. Land is not ideal. It hasn't been farmed for generations, and it takes a long time, which is why this composting is so important. But this land will be available for 10 farmers, and we hope to draw a number of those farmers from our Beginning Farmer program. One of the reasons for the visit of the secretary, or the way in which the secretary we were brought to his attention, was that we just received a grant to work on this incubator farm and to make it available for people. So anybody who comes to this farm doesn't need that much of their own money. We will be supplying tools and equipment and helping them as much as we can to really establish themselves as farmers. We are also working with the capital market, and the capital market is a few miles from this farm, and they have agreed to work with the farmers to allow them to sell their produce at the farmers market. So we are trying in every way we can to help new farmers have some of the advantages that people with more experience or more resources might have, or people who came from farming families. So we are hoping that this will allow them to really get started in farming and understand much about it. And there will be courses and other resources available to them while they are farming there.
Did we have any questions for Margaret about the incubator farm?
Actually, I do. I have a question. Far as the land,
Who is this?
for Linda,
Hi, Linda.
hi. As far as the land that's there,
Mhm.
are you gonna start incrementally, like in small plots? Like you said, it's 10 acres there. Will you have like, I guess, once the farmers start accepting the responsibility for working in the land, are you having like, say like 3 people might want to farm a half acre? Are you doing it that way, to make sure that enough people
Yeah,
can actually be
the
out there?
plots will be a little bit more than half acre, but about a half acre.
Okay,
And that'll be the increments that will
okay,
be available to people.
gotcha. All right, thank you.
Hi, this is Melanie. I actually grow at the community garden right there at Watkins Park. And so were you saying that the incubator farm will most of the area be for individuals in the program? Will it be open up to others
It
or?
will be open to people who farm there and want to expand. The community gardeners are welcome to apply.
Okay,
People
thank
who
you.
want to expand to a larger plot.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question too, because I currently farm on my land, and it's like a little bit of rugged terrain. I have a lot of hilly areas, but I do use all of the possible outskirts of the fencing, the fence part and the middle parts, and up and down the hills to get stuff to grow. But I'm looking for something that's flatter. That doesn't.
This is very flat. It's awesome land.
Oh,
And
great.
we will I hope put compost and enrich this land so that by the time we're hoping that people can start farming there this spring.
Oh, okay. Great.
Margaret, my name is Renee. I have been in a community plot for maybe 7 years. It is at the Watkins plot over. It is off the park over
Right.
by Watkins. Now, the challenge is that there are no meetings that are held. As a Prince George's County Master Gardener, I think those meetings are important because it allows some discipline about what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and what shouldn't happen. And in the past, say, year and a half, it has been stressful now to be there because there is no structure. And not that you have to do it my way, but I think it's really about this common and community language that we should all be speaking. My question is I was asked about participating in this, but I shied away because I wanted to know more information with regard to what the time commitments were and how it would be structured for people to participate. You can grow what you want to grow, but you don't want to grow something that's also evasive to somebody else that is farming. So as like a flower farmer is farming and somebody wants to grow callaloo, and callaloo is now all over the flowers in the flowers farm. So I just want to know, how is that going to be managed and or negotiated with people that come through this program?
That's an excellent question. And I don't have all the answers to it yet. We are going to hire a farm manager who will work with people. I think it's absolutely critical that people who grow together in a shared space, like a community garden or an incubator farm, which is the next step, actually spend time together, get to know each other, and discuss what they're doing. I completely agree with you, and it is going to be an important aspect of this. We want to build camaraderie and also share learning. And we certainly want the people who are there to help participate in both the rulemaking and the observation and following of those rules, because while we don't want to be police, there are real challenges if somebody is doing something to their land that disrupts what you want to do with yours.
Thank
So I
you.
think those are excellent points, and we will work with, we have a full-time manager, and we will be on premises and work with people and get instruction as well there.
Just to add to that, the idea is also to be able to share instruments or share resources. So in order to do that, you need to have some kind of a camaraderie or understanding of a community, not just you are by yourself.
And we also hope to build something like what Benny showed you at our place, to produce compost there.
There are rules and previous references to laws and regulations that Margaret and I think Kim also you've shared with me, and I've looked over those. We will have all those rules be part of what you have to agree to abide by if you want a piece of that land. On the other hand, it is also part of an extension of the training, of farmers. Technically, you are a beginning farmer for 10 years. I find that out. I was like, wow, that's kind of quite a number of years to be a beginning farmer. But this will be part of you abiding by ECO's, educational kind of set goals that will all follow to really be able to use a piece of land. And so if you came in from the community, for instance, you might have to be looked into that in order for everything to work properly for us.
What Kawese was alluding to is that by definition, USDA refers to a beginning farmer as someone with 10 years or less experience farming. So we're all beginners, or close to it. The other thing is that I certainly harbor fantasies of trying to put together at least some of these as a cooperative unit, where there may be 3 or 4 farmers who want to work together on farming and sell their produce together and work together in a variety of ways. Maybe even farm each other's plots. Are there other questions or of any one of us?
Would we check the website just for additional information as it becomes available?
Absolutely. And we also have I don't know if I want to mention this anymore. We have a Facebook presence, and sometimes it's easier to update the Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/EcoCityFarms.
This is Jamila, the flower farmer in Upper Marlboro. I just want to say that I love that you have a cooperative spirit. On the farm that I'm working, it's 3 of us on a 15-acre farm, and we didn't know each other. We just kind of came together organically, and I don't think I could make it out there without the 2 other farmers. I mean, sometimes people think it's so romantic to be like to be a farmer and just kind of roughing it on your own, but man, it's just when you're out there by yourself and things go wrong, like it's just so nice to have somebody to lean on. So I love that you're doing that.
Well, we'd love your advice as well. We call ECO a teaching and learning farm because none of us know everything.
Any other questions for ECO specifically? They've been quite the trailblazers in urban ag in the county, and I often tell them I wish this new urban ag innovation and production, grant in office in NRCS, came around earlier, because ECO's done a lot of innovating and can benefited from a lot of those grants. But yeah, any other questions about some of the work that they've been doing, their involvement in advocacy, anything along those lines? If not, we can just, continue our conversation. I know folks have specific things that they wanted just to bring up in general about their operations, but I just wanted to make sure we have everyone's questions answered about ECO. Stephanie.
Stephanie's hands up.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I just had a question. Like I said before, I've been farming for like a year, and I sell at a Saturday market, which means that like the beginning farmer program with like the specific like Saturday commitment wouldn't really work for me. So would you guys recommend like an apprenticeship? Like, is that something that would be a little bit more flexible on like the scheduling? Because I agree with you that working with other farmers, like it allows you to learn things in ways that you can't learn online or from books or anything like that. So I guess I'm just wondering like how would be the best way for someone who has like those time commitments on like a Wednesday evening or a Saturday to like connect with you?
Yeah, Stephanie, I would say the apprenticeship would be a good option in terms of schedule wise. We do work business hours, 9 to 5 during the week. That's when Michelle is there, and that's when we have folks on site. And then I do Saturday morning volunteer days here and there. I would say just the downside would be you wouldn't be learning as much, of course, as if you were in the class, with the structured class and designated lessons. I think a lot of the learning that would happen on the apprenticeship maybe more for absolute novices, but I think it would still be worth you coming and kind of learning about the ins and outs of our farm. But it sounds like you may need another kind of level up from the apprenticeship in terms of the long-term benefits that as opposed to what the apprenticeship could offer.
I also want to say that almost every one of our staff as well have come from either the apprenticeship or the beginning farmer training programs. But I think that the challenge of the apprenticeship, and we may be able to remedy that this year, is that it doesn't have as much of the camaraderie as the beginning farmer does. Because the beginning farmer training program from the very beginning, where we're in a classroom together, our goal is that people form a learning community.
Margaret and Kayla, the days of the program, it's Wednesday evenings and Saturdays. We have a question from Renee.
It's more than that. It starts the first 3 months are that, and then later on they pick times when they will do hands-on work at the farm. That we continue some Wednesdays and some Saturdays, but everyone does a turn at some time on the farm hands-on.
Yes.
Right.
The
After the
general rule
PGC.
is we require 10 hours a week for on-farm training.
On the hands-on part.
Yes.
In addition to the rest.
Yes, and the classroom one is just 1 day a week. I think it's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Thursdays. Is that, or is it Wednesdays this time?
Wednesdays, it's always Wednesdays.
Okay, Wednesdays. So we would do it 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the community college.
And Saturday mornings.
On
where
farm.
we try, where we try to put into practice what people have learned in the classroom.
I don't know if there's anyone on the call that's, been through the ECO program that would love to chat about their experience. Not to put anyone on the spot, it's fine.
I mean, I will. I mean, this is Saudi. I'm in the program as of this year. And like they say you go to, I happen to have to go on Zoom due to COVID, but went through Zoom, still a strenuous learning process where you learn about the ins and outs of just the soil and, pretty much what you do on the farm, like business planning and things like that. And then you pick a day. Of course, COVID changed for us, so we had to figure it out on the fly, but you pretty much pick a day, pretty much like 5 hours or so per day. I was going on Mondays, but they're pretty flexible, so I went to Wednesdays. And mostly I would have to say that if you're trying to get into this program, just think of trying to make some type of commitment. I mean, just try to make a commitment, because that's what it is, a commitment type of program. But when you talk to Kwesi and Benny, they just mainly tell you to try to come and fulfill your hours. It's more like a family trying to get you through it. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. But I would say try to make a commitment and not be in the way for others who can make the commitment. Don't just sign up because you want to get into it and you think big things, but you might be in the way of others who can commit. It is a commitment type program. But for the most part, I've learned a whole lot. It was new to me. I never knew anything about farming. And I like to say I know a lot. It's like, not let me stop. But I do know enough. But again, just try to commit to it. It's not as hard as you think, but that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Saudi. In terms of fees, I feel like the fees are minimum. You guys may have an application fee, but maybe you can talk about
fee.
No fee. Okay.
People keep telling me everywhere that you don't get anything from nothing. And when we don't charge, people won't show and so on. That has not been our experience. And I'm not so cynical to think that people have to pay for things for it to be rewarding. I think people like Saudi and others have come because they get something out of it and because they have something to share. And and they are interested in building a community around growing food and healthy living. And so we do not charge. We have gotten a grant and we try to make our resources available to people.
Any other questions for the ECO staff? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about the program. It can be something, related to composting. I know we had some questions earlier about that. All right. Well, hearing no more questions, I just want to go ahead and thank ECO, Kayla, Benny, Margaret, and Kwesi for coming on and talking more about this awesome program. We really appreciate the work that you guys are doing in Prince George's County for farmers, but also for residents who are the beneficiaries of this awesome food that you're growing and that your trainees are growing as they develop their enterprises. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording unless ECO staff has any, last minute words, and then we'll just stop the recording and we can just have conversation.
No, I just want to thank people for taking this time to learn about us. And we're really excited, and the people who we know and have been part of us, thank you for all the work you've done. And particularly to Kim, who's been an incredible leader in this whole field and is a connector, and we appreciate her too.
Aw, thanks, guys. But you guys are such a pleasure to work with. So thank you again for all the work that you're doing and for, coming on tonight. All right, let me go ahead and stop the recording.